In this video, we're going to explore how to create animation in After Effects using keyframes. A keyframe records the value of any parameter on a layer at a specific point in time based on where the current time indicator is when you record that keyframe. To show you what I mean, we'll go ahead and create an animation where this balloon floats into the scene, and we'll create that animation using keyframes. To start, let's select layer 1 by clicking on the word balloon, and then go to the left side of the layer and click the arrow to open up the layer options. Click the arrow to the left of the word transform to open up its options, and you'll see we have several different parameters we can animate. I know I can animate them because I have a stopwatch to the left of each parameter. Now, since we want this object to move in the scene, we want to animate the position. If we look to the right of each of these parameters, we see blue numbers. The left number here is for the x-axis, which is the horizontal axis. And the right number here is for the y-axis, which will move the balloon up and down. So let's start by clicking and dragging by holding our mouse down, and we'll drag to the right directly over the y parameter and scrub until you see the balloon disappear off the bottom of the scene. Once it's disappeared, go back to the left side of the word position and click once on the stopwatch to add your first keyframe. Once you've created one keyframe clicking the stopwatch, you don't need to click the stopwatch any other time. All you need to do is move your current time indicator to a different frame. I want this balloon to float up into the scene over 2 seconds. So I'll click and drag on my current time indicator and move it to 2 seconds in the timeline. I can see it's at 2 seconds right here in the lower left corner of the composition panel or in the upper left corner of the timeline. Now, I'm at 2 seconds. Notice there's no keyframe. I need to change the position value to add another keyframe. This time, I'm going to hold down Shift, and then I'll click and drag on the Y parameter and drag to the left. Holding down Shift allows the object to move 10 times as fast as we click and drag or scrub on that value. Click and drag until the balloon floats up to a position you like. I set mine at a value of 547. Now notice I have this line that's appeared. This line is called the motion path, and I'll know that this balloon moves perfectly in a vertical fashion because that line is perfectly straight. In order to see a preview of the animation, I'll go ahead and press the space bar, and that will allow my current time indicator to move down the timeline and then go through the different frames to preview the animation. Notice how abruptly the balloon stops. That's because these keyframes are called linear keyframes. So I'll press the space bar to stop playback here. I know these keyframes are linear because they're diamond shaped. I want to change the interpolation of these keyframes, which will change the motion of the object between the two keyframes. To make sure both keyframes are selected, I'll go to the left side of the timeline here and click once on the word position. I'll know those keyframes are selected because they turn blue. Now I can right click on either one of the keyframes and go to the keyframe assistant and choose Easy Ease, which is going to change the interpolation. Now if I press the space bar, I can see a preview of my animation. And notice now the balloon is just floating up into the scene and it slowly resolves to its final resting position. I'll press the space bar one more time to stop playback. Now remember that line? If you look at the line, you'll notice there is a gray circle. If you click and drag on that circle, that will change the angle of the motion path. So I'm going to click and drag to the left so the balloon floats up to the left and then resolves back into this position. Now I'll press the space bar one more time to preview the animation, and you'll see the balloon floats in a different pattern and still resolves nicely because the keyframes are now set to ease. So keyframes are the primary method for creating animation in After Effects. And as you can see, once you create your keyframes, you can further adjust how things animate by adjusting the motion path or right-clicking on the keyframe to change the keyframe interpolation.